Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for Writer's Quote 15, I believe. Hopefully that's right, otherwise make fun of me in the comments. But this comes to us once again from Papa. Ernest Hemingway on Writing, edited by Larry W. Phillips. This quote coming from page 110. It is from Byline. Ernest Hemingway on page 184, however. And this will only be a part of the quote which is implicated in that portion. It reads as such: "Don't let them suck you in to start writing about the proletariat if you don't come from the proletariat, just to please the recently politically enlightened critics. In a little while, these critics will be something else. I've seen them be a lot of things, and none of them was pretty. Write about what you know and write truly, and tell them all where they can place it. Books should be about people you know, that you love and hate, not about the people you study up about. If you write them truly, they will have all the economic implications a book can hold." I think that this quote is half about a cliche and half about a vocabulary term from creative writing and the arts. The cliche is write what you know, and the vocabulary term is the objective correlative. Objective correlative sort of being summed up by, I believe it was Ezra Pound, as being in things, not ideas. In things, not in ideas. Don't write about ideas. Don't write about the proletariat. Write about people you know. Because if the people you know are proletariat, and the position that you put them in your work, exploits those things that you might want to say about proletariats, then your message will get across. So for example, American Psycho, not about the proletariat, but it tells you a lot of things about the other side of the economic spectrum, which infers things about the proletariat side of the economic spectrum. And the argument here, not in ideas but things, not in ideas but things, is one of the strongest arguments that I can make for what makes good writing versus what makes bad writing. If you're going to use metaphor, don't tell us about it. Just put it in play. If you're going to write about poverty, don't use the word poverty. Give us the impoverished. If you're going to write about any number of things, don't use vocabulary terms. Vocabulary terms do nothing for anyone. No one wants to read a school book for fun. Some of us do, but not when we're picking up fiction. Fiction is supposed to be something completely different. And that idea, that objective correlative, not in ideas but things, is a very quick way to get there. Although what it does is it forces every bit of your writing to be, for lack of a better phrase, I'm going to channel another cliche here, an uphill battle. Every bit of your writing will be an uphill battle if you are writing about not ideas, but things. And the reason is there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. It's one of the things that makes first person fairly difficult, because in first person, time jumps are a little trickier. You have to have some heading to tell us, because the lessons learned through the text are all through the protagonist. That's how in first person, or that aren't learned, are all through the protagonist. So we have to be there for every bit of the journey. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult because, especially starting out, Because every time you want to take a shortcut, you have to stop yourself and say, okay, but what does that mean? There is another term, burnt tongue writing. I believe this is part of the, you'll be able to Google it and YouTube it much better than me coming up with this off the tip of my tongue, because I haven't studied up on this in so long. But in burnt tongue writing, if you can ever ask what that means, it doesn't really mean anything. For example, I think Tom Spanbauer used the example, never say I was 15 at the time, because that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. Maybe 15 means that you'd lost your virginity. It was 3 weeks after I lost my virginity. Or maybe, going a little bit deeper into that character's psyche, it was not a social event, but a private event. It was 3 weeks after I learned to masturbate to internet pornography. Those give you a very specific time and a place for that character versus 15. Numbers don't really mean anything to a character. And it is representative of the fact that you don't know that character if you have to say, well, I was in the 3rd grade. Doesn't mean anything. It was the year that Sally broke her leg when I pushed her off the swing. That tells us something about the protagonist and about Sally. Should have been drinking her milk. So there are many, 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 many times that we as writers use shortcuts. And we give a number or something akin to a number that is a shortcut and an idea as opposed to a thing. Pardon me. But I want to go back to that small part of this extended quote. Books should be about people you know, that you love and hate, not about the people you study up about. It is possible to hear this quote and say, sure, if you're writing things like Hemingway wrote, but I want to write Tolkien-esque fantasies. I want to be a world builder, and I want to populate these worlds. Good. Great. Where will you get those people? You'll have to take them from the people you know. That is what makes Tolkien so great. Tolkien. I'm not sure. Some nerd somewhere is going to say that I said it wrong, and that's fine. Correct me. I love to learn. But one of the things, and I didn't like Lord of the Rings. Didn't like it. But I can see the value there. And the reason is he used real people. Those characters are real people on the page, and you can feel those people. And you know that that world is inhabited. It has been lived in. Unlike some lesser forms of fantasy, and I'm not going to name any, but lots of times what happens is page 1 through page, 950, because some fantasy stories just ramble on and on pointlessly. Shortcuts will be taken all the time. What grade are these people in? Was someone angry? Don't tell me. Do not tell. This is another example that Tom Spanbauer uses. Tom Spanbauer says, one of the things that is very poor writing is to say, my mother was angry. What does that look like? My mother did that thing with her eyebrows that she used to do where they twitch, and they twitch towards the middle. And what you are able to do with something like this over time is you pick that, so for whatever it is that your mother does when she's angry, say that my mother would patter her feet and say, God damn it. God damn it. So if you put that on the page. What you're able to do with it then is, say you've got a 300-page novel, and somewhere in the first 100 pages, your mother does the foot-pattering goddammit thing. You exploit that later on by showing it again, but not showing us what made your mother angry. We just understand she is. So mother came home and she was downstairs and saw what I'd done, and then we get the feet pattering and the goddammit, but we never show the reader what we've done. That's a way to exploit that. And later on, you can break the cycle. You find some way to trigger that event in your reader's mind and then exploit the fact that your reader thinks you're going there, but you don't go there. Those are the things that you get away with, that you get to play with, that you get to manipulate in your reader when you're actually painting pictures, when you're using and employing the objective correlative, as opposed to just saying she was angry. And it is one of the ways that, so one way that always sticks out to me is in As I Lay Dying. Darl is following Jewel, and he notices the thin line of non-sunburned skin between Jewel's hair and the sunburn on his neck. And he says he's been to town this week. That tells us so many things. It is one little moment that tells us so many things. Instead of Darl following Jewel and saying he's so selfish, Darl observes the thin, unsunburned stripe of skin between Jewel's hair and the sunburn on his neck. And from that, he says he's been to town this week. And we know automatically that these poor folk, they don't go to town. Jewel did. Jewel did. Because he's selfish. There's something in town he wants. There might be something in town that he hopes to look good for. And that's why he's getting his hair cut. We know the economic status of these people, that they are always sunburned. We know that Darl, though he is presented as out there, as a space cadet, we know he's not dumb. He's observant. So these are the small things. And from there, forward in the story, when Jewel goes missing, or when Jewel storms off, we have some idea what he's doing. Never told to us, never shown to us, but we've got some idea where he's at, where he's going, what he's doing. And we know it's selfish. From that moment forward, and this is fairly early in the text, I think it's the second or third chapter. From this moment in the text, we also know how observant Darl is. Because it's shown to us. It's given to us. It isn't told to us. No one says, boy, that Darl sure is observant. Darl never says, boy, I sure is observant. No, it's given to us. It is shown to us. And from that moment, we know Darl. We know Jewel. And we know the dynamic between them. Because Jewel, we have every reason to believe, understands that Darl's as observant as he is. But Jewel's also a little bit brazen, isn't he? He's going to go ahead and walk in front of Darl. I don't give a damn if he sees my neck and understands. So those are the small things that happen. Those are the big things that happen from small tendencies, from small. You have to be very, very, very disciplined to do those things. And from those small disciplined moments in your writing, large things sprout. So that's all I've got for this episode, this writer's quote. I think this is writer's quote 15. If you like this sort of thing, hit the like button. It really helps us out here on the channel. If you would like to help us grow here on Strip Cover Lit, maybe consider sharing this on some form of social media. And if you would like to help us create more content on Strip Cover Lit, there is, as always, a link to our Patreon to be found in the description below. And I hope to see you next time for another Writer's Quote.